Greetings and welcome, dear guests. I am BATUHAN, one of the moderators. Before the session begins, please remember that you shouldn't turn on your microphones during the speech. Thank you. So we are the members of Democracy University ELT Student Club, and this is our 17th online session. Today's topic is about flipped impact in the EFL classroom by Dr. IŞIL GÜNSELİ KAÇAR from Middle East Technical University.
Hello everyone, I am BEGÜM student of ELT department at IZMIR Democracy University. And before I give you the information about our session, I would like to say a few words because we are coming to an end of our sessions. I would like to say thank you, especially to my dear NURDAN hocam for giving us such an opportunity. And of course, I would like to thank to all our special guests. It was an honor to be in a part of this webinar series. Yeah, and now let me give you some brief information about the session. The moderator is Dr. NURDAN KAVAKLI, who is also our academic advisor at ELT department. And this session is about 20-25 minutes long. And the QA sessions will be held by QA managers, me and my friend BATUHAN. You may prefer to write your questions in chat box or you may use your mics if eligible. Also, at the end of our session, we will take a family picture and we will inform you when it's time to turn your cameras on. Now, we would like to kindly invite Dr. NURDAN KAVAKLI to start of the 17th session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my dear students, BATUHAN and BEGÜM, who are going to be today's Q&A managers. And this will be their last time. That's why I think she's given some kind of farewell words. Thank you all. And today we are going to host a special guest from the Department of English Language Teaching from Middle East Technical University. And please welcome my dear colleague, my dear professor from Middle East Technical University. She is waiting over there. I don't want to take too much time, but I want to say something. There is always changing. I mean, there is always something changing in the way of education in the course of teaching. And we have been encountering these kind of different perspectives in education as well. But one of my great professors from the Department of Economics always states that do it or do not. There is no try. So let's see what lies behind the flipped impact in the EFL. So please welcome my dear guest, my dear colleague, Dr. IŞIL GÜNSELİ KAÇAR, and thank you very much for your participation one more time.
Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome you all for coming to the session. Now I'd like to share my screen with you first. Yes, okay. Welcome you all one more time. Today I'm going to talk about an innovative pedagogical approach called flipped classrooms. I will also be sharing with you the preliminary findings of an ongoing Erasmus Plus project called Flipped Impact. Now I'd like to start by giving some brief information about the project. Flipped Impact is a key action to strategic partnership for education within the scope of Erasmus+, which refers to cooperation for innovation and the exchange of good practices. The specific objectives of the project are promote language skills, multiliteracies, provide an opportunity for differentiated instruction strategies, improve K-12 learners' level of English language proficiency, and guide pre-service teachers to devise educational tools and methodologies, also enhancing intercultural awareness and diversity. Partner organizations from 5 countries participating in this project: Turkey, Netherlands, Spain, Lithuania, and Romania, namely 4 universities and 5 K-12 schools. Our Turkish K-12 school partner is the Metro Development Foundation School, the secondary division. Now, I'd like to start by giving brief information about flipped classrooms. Flipped classroom approach has become a popular pedagogy in educational settings around the world recently. It's a pedagogical approach where the direct instruction moves from group space to individual space, and the group space is transformed into a dynamic and interactive learning environment. The educator guides students as they apply concepts and engage creatively with the subject matter. The basic notion of flipped classroom approach is to deliver the teacher's lectures before class through online videos in order to free up the teaching time for active problem-solving activities. In this approach, students first gain exposure to new learning materials through outside class activities, usually via online lectures or interactive videos. This approach enables teachers to spend more time in class on student-centered interaction, such as group discussions, problem-solving and active learning activities and debates. Also, it provides individual attention and scaffolding for students. I'd like to mention Bloom's taxonomy right now. So this revised Bloom's taxonomy lies at the heart of flipped classroom approach. In line with this revised version of the taxonomy, students are engaged in the lower levels of cognitive work, gaining knowledge and comprehension and lower order thinking skills outside class. And they focus on the higher forms of cognitive work, application, analysis, synthesis, or evaluation, or in the recent version, application, analysis, remembering, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating for the higher order thinking skills in class, where they have the support of peers and the instructor. This model contrasts with the traditional model where the first exposure occurs via lectures in class. And then students assimilate knowledge through homework in traditional model. This is where the term flipped classroom comes from. There are four main pillars of this flipped learning, flipped classroom approach. The first one is the flexible environments. Flipped classes allow for a variety of learning modes. Educators physically rearrange their learning space to accommodate the lesson or unit, which might involve group work or independent activities. Educators who flip their classes are flexible in their expectations of student timelines for learning and how students are assessed. The second pillar is the learning culture. In the traditional teacher-centered model, the teacher is the main source of information. However, in the flipped classroom approach, there is a shift from the teacher-centered classroom to a student-centered approach where the in-class time is meant for exploring topics in great depth and creating richer learning opportunities through various student-centered pedagogies. The third pillar is the intentional content. In flipped learning, classroom time is maximized to add various active learning approaches and problem-based activities or mastery learning, depending on the grade level and the subject matter. And the last pillar is the professional educators. In the flipped approach, teachers who adopt flipped approach are reflective practitioners. So they're constantly engaged in interaction with the students through organization of the activities, provision of feedback, and the assessment. Now, I'd like to move on to the flipped learning activities in the K-12 classrooms. There are two types of activities, three types actually, the pre-class, in-class, and the after-class activities. The major pre-class activities include watching interactive videos or doing online exercises. However, reading text-based materials and taking notes might also be used. As for the in-class activities, the main activities include brief reviews, individual practices, and small group activities, as well as student presentations. For after-class activities, the main activities are self-evaluation and reflection. For in-class activities, we talked about individual problem-solving activities. And for the group activities, a variety of activities can be given. Case studies, online games such as Kahoot, role plays, reaction sheets, critical debates, and group investigations. In these group activities, each students bring their own individual understanding of the content to the lesson and together in small groups. They will be able to draw on each other's knowledge and understanding of the material to create new understandings and to better recall the content. Now, at this point of the presentation, I will move on to the K-12 students' attitudes towards the flipped classroom approach. In the field-related literature, both favorable and unfavorable student perceptions are reported. As for the favorable student perceptions, we can list enhanced motivation, improved learner autonomy, improvement in terms of self-directed learning and self-regulation skills, self-paced learning, students learning at their own pace, an increase in student interactions, and improved teamwork skills. Among the unfavorable student perceptions, we can list students' unfamiliarity with the active learning and problem-based activities, and students not getting accustomed to taking responsibility for their own learning, and students skipping the pre-class activities and coming to in-class session unprepared. So the extra outside class preparation requirement on the part of students sometimes may create a negative impact on their perceptions. As for the preliminary findings of our study, we have noticed some of the previous research findings as well. Our students reported enhanced motivation and an increase in their interactions with their peers, and also they enjoyed getting individual attention from their teachers. Whereas they also reported unfavorable perceptions as the extra workload outside class and their unfamiliarity with the active learning and problem-based activities also created some problems during in-class activities. Now, I'd like to point out some challenges using this flipped classroom approach in K-12 education. The challenges might be grouped into three categories: student-related, faculty-related, and operational challenges. Now, right now, I'd like to give some guidelines to address the challenges faced by the students. The first guideline is opening up teacher-student communication before flipping. Unlike traditional classrooms, the flipped classroom approach requires students to explore the content before class. So you students tend to have difficulty in organizing their own learning process and regulating their own learning process as well. And also students might have difficulty understanding the mindset behind the flipped learning. In flipped learning approach, students need to adopt a growth mindset and mastery learning principles. So coming from a traditional teacher-centered background, it is necessary for students to provide a detailed overview of the course requirements, and also to teach this mindset before starting this flipped endeavor. And also an opportunity should be given to students to express their concerns about this approach as well. Now, for in-class activities, students need further instruction on how to work together productively in order for the classroom approach to be beneficial for the students. Students need to be introduced some cognitive skills as well. Providing instructor brief notes to accompany the videos might also be useful for guiding student learning during video lectures as well. And preparing interactive class videos for students is also beneficial to raise their motivation to learn. In our project, we have used lots of interactive classroom videos using Edpuzzle and BATUHAN mainly. The second challenge is showing students how to learn through flipped classrooms. So teachers should provide clear instructions to ensure better communication and effective interaction in group activities. Several suggestions might be given to achieve that. The first one is grouping students according to their ability. That was suggested in the previous research. And then the second one is using the station model flipped. This is what we did, what we used in our Flipped Impact project. Now, some more information about the station model. So you can see some pictures of this flipped station teaching. So it's a discovery learning based teaching, and there are several stations. The difficulty, these stations are getting increasingly difficult in level. And the stations are arranged in line with the Bloom's revised taxonomy. The first station is called the video station. It's used as an aid kit, and each stations are thematically related to one another. And I'd like to mention h5p.org. It is the main technology tool for us to prepare online activities. It has a very friendly interface, and it has easy customizability with instant feedback elements. Now here are some pictures from our implementations. And we just implemented the flipped learning both in station model and face-to-face model. Now, there are some benefits and challenges of each method. In station model, students are hard to control, and it is hard to give instant feedback for the students. But in face-to-face, it's easy to keep students under control. In the station model, it's hard to keep the balance between the pair work and station activities. In face-to-face, it's easy to include pair work and group work activities. And in station model, every learner can follow the activities at their own pace. This is one of the key points of flipped learning. While in the face-to-face activities, each student has to keep up with one another. In station models, integrate technology by providing self-paced individual activities. But in the face-to-face model, it's difficult to integrate technology into individual activities. Now, what do students think? So this is a screenshot of the student evaluations. In the station model, students emphasize the self-paced nature of learning in the station model, and while in the face-to-face model, students reported enjoying the increased interaction with their peers. Now, this picture is from a class, okay, a flipped class. We did flipped classes at Metu College on a weekly basis before this COVID-19 started. And this class is an unusual class because it didn't take place in the classroom in the laboratory. It took place in the art room of the Metu College. So as you might guess, okay, the lesson content, students are going to create recipes. Well, this is actually our instructions. By the way, we use this learning management system called Edmodo, and we post all these notifications and the activities on Edmodo. Now, students, before this class, this is, by the way, a hands-on in-class activity. So students got connected with their group members and they chose a recipe. And they brought the ingredients to class and they wrote their recipe using passive voice in class. And then they applied the recipe with their group members, and then they took a video of the recipe while explaining using passive voice. Students really like this activity a lot. And then I'd like to go on with the student challenges. So one of the biggest challenges in the flipped classroom is to design flipped materials, particularly the materials for the pre-class activities. So in the design of instructional videos for our project, we adopted Mayer's cognitive theory of multimedia learning. Because it's very important to design these videos carefully because some students get easily disengaged when watching long instructional videos. In line with the Mayer's proposed design principles, we can select 3 of them as the most important ones. The segmenting principle, it stresses that long presentations can be divided into a series of short videos. Empirical findings suggested that students' average engagement time at K-12 level is maximum 6 minutes. And the personalization principle suggests that presentation and videos should be spoken in a conversational style. So the teachers had better avoid non-personalized style of speaking in a third-person formal dialogue. Instead, it is recommended to use an informal conversation with students. The signaling principle states that the learning is enhanced when essential materials are highlighted. Teachers may consider using PowerPoint embedded presentations such as screencasts. And also for teachers, it's important to arrange the workload when planning a flipped lesson or a course. So sometimes students reported feeling overwhelmed with the excessive workload the flipped classrooms require. And another guideline is providing students with a communication platform outside classroom. Some students can become dissatisfied when they cannot ask questions during pre-class activities. Different from traditional classrooms, students in a flipped classroom environment cannot interrupt the teacher for inquiries, not seek collaboration while watching instructional videos. To overcome this problem, teachers can create an online discussion platform for students to post their questions and discuss with their peers. The learning community can be extended outside the classroom that way. Also, the use of interactive online videos might also be a solution in that respect too, because they have the instant feedback facility. Another guideline might be enhancing teachers' knowledge of flipped classroom approach. So educational institutions might consider providing teacher training seminars or professional development activities on flipped classroom approach. And also another useful guideline is preparing flipped learning materials progressively. It's not an easy task to find videos that perfectly match for our learner profile. And also it is a substantial amount of workload for the teacher to create their own materials. Therefore, teachers, before flipping the entire course, they can start small and proceed at a reasonable pace. They can prepare flipped materials by working on 2 or 3 topics, or they can work together in the preparation and designing of these flipped materials, or they can even co-teach their flipped lessons. That was the case in our project. And also, it's important to support the students limited by technology resources. And for all these internet connection problems and the capacity problems, teachers can prepare some additional copies of flipped learning materials if they are trying a face-to-face flip. And then they can download the videos and send them to teachers beforehand. And also using an LMS system is required to monitor and record the data for student learning. In our case, we have used Edmodo. But some other LMS systems might also be used. Also, institutions require support for these flipped class activities. Teachers may encounter various technological problems on video production or during the implementations. So that's why an IT unit is necessary. And these are my references. Thank you for listening. Now I'm ready to have your questions.
Thank you very much for this very informative and fruitful session. My students, Begüm and Batuhan, gonna manage the Q&A session. But before it, could you please stop sharing so that we can take a family photo?
Sure.
Yes, okay. So get your place and be ready. And smile. And open your camera. Let me wait a little bit. Okay. Okay, I'm taking the first one. And the second one. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Begüm.
Thank you.
So thank you for this fruitful lesson, IŞİL Hocam. And now we have the QA sessions, and my dear friend Batuhan will take the first one.
Yeah, the first one is coming from Betulbal Gezegin. IŞİL Hocam, thank you so much. My question is about the thoughts and perceptions of teachers who adopted flipped classroom. Are there any studies reporting on that? Is it found to be too challenging, or the opposite maybe?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, there are lots of studies carried out into teachers' perceptions. And teachers, actually, they have some challenges as well. I mean, in terms of the increased workload, because they need to prepare a lot of materials, and some of them actually they're new to the flipped classroom, so particularly the pre-class materials preparation is problematic. Finding the videos and particularly preparing the videos might be a challenge for the teachers. And other than that, the classroom management might also be problematic. So in our project, we just did it. We implemented the flipped classroom approach with a group of 20 students at Metu College, and we divided them into 2. But actually station model, even in large classes, station model is likely to work. And as I reported in my talk, the teachers might choose to do this station model flip lessons, not for each week, but just once a month, or they can also do team teaching in order to alleviate the difficulties of these classroom management issues. But station model is actually quite effective in terms of the learning outcomes. So these increased workloads and also for teachers, explaining the flipped learning mindset is also problematic, because in our project, from experience, I can say that if you're going to implement it at K-12 level, the parents' support is extremely important. Because we just implemented it with the 6th graders, and they had great difficulty in developing autonomy and self-regulated skills. So it's important maybe before starting to these flipped lessons to just give them some flipped training in terms of some self-regulated strategies, etc. as well, but using an LMS system such as Edmodo, and using this app puzzle interactive online activities where you can just keep track of the students' activities might also be recommendable.
Thank you, ma'am. By the way, Betül Balgazagin was also our guest, so thank you her again for participating in our session. Begüm, please continue.
Yeah, and we have another question from our never-changing dear researcher, Rümeysa Pektaş Aydemir, and she asked, what are the ways to overcome barriers for group works in flipped classroom?
Well, in group work sessions, actually, it's very important to find an interactive task. So usually, from experience, I can say that in our project, students find it really difficult to get engaged actually in activities which lacked interactivity. So that's why it's important to design activities in such a way to facilitate student interaction. This is actually a very important point. And also, you can just vary the activities. I mean, students usually tend to get bored in writing activities or the reading activities, but by providing some variations for these student activities, I think students' engagement might be enhanced in that way. So,
thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
If there is something else you want to add, you can continue.
No, thank you. Actually, that was
okay. We have a few more questions, but we have got limited time. By the way, we will have our last session next day. So Begüm, please end the session.
Yeah, thank you one more time for joining us and sharing our excitement today. Our special thanks go to Dr. IŞIL GÜNSELİ KAÇAR, and hope to see you again. Please follow us on our Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook for the updates. Thank you, and bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.